Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to being truly well-informed. Today, we're jumping into something pretty intricate. The world of school district reconfiguration.
hmm
We're aiming to, pull back the curtain a bit on how a community actually grapples with these, huge decisions about its future, specifically its educational future.
Exactly. And our source material for this is this really interesting audio recording. It's from a school steering committee meeting, the Santa Fe Trail School District, actually.
Okay.
And you get to hear community members, school staff, external partners, all sort of hashing out the district's path forward. So our mission really is to pull out the core challenges they're facing, look at the solutions being proposed, and maybe most importantly, understand how the community's voice is actually shaping things.
Right. And it sounds like even from the start of that meeting, some things were quite clear about the atmosphere they were trying to create. You
Yeah.
had different people there, right? Like the transportation director, Robbie Madden, I think.
Yeah.
And even someone running for the school board, Ben Paul, the band director.
Yeah, that's right. A mix of perspectives. And they really emphasized setting up norms for the meeting, to have productive, even if sometimes difficult, conversations.
Acknowledging everyone comes in with different backgrounds.
Exactly. And they made a point of meeting in person, which I found interesting. They felt that face-to-face collaboration was key, even if it meant giving people homework to do later.
Okay, so collaboration was big. Let's get into the meat of it then. Why? Why are they even considering this reconfiguration? What are the big drivers?
Well, the meeting really zeroed in on three main reasons, and they stressed how important it is for the public to understand these.
Makes sense. So what's number one?
The first one is pretty stark, actually. It's declining enrollment.
How much of a decline are we talking?
Over the last 30 years, the district has lost almost 400 students.
Wow, 400. That's a lot for a district, I imagine.
It really is, and that drop has a direct and pretty significant impact on their budget. Revenue is tied to full-time equivalency, or FTE, basically butts seats, as they sometimes say.
Right. Fewer students, less funding.
Precisely. And they showed data, 30 years of it, showing this consistent downward trend. It wasn't just a blip.
And I gather Santa Fe Trail isn't, unique in this. They mentioned a wider trend.
Yeah, they did. They pointed out it's a broader statewide issue, this declining enrollment. And they gave a really specific example, the Minnesota Public School District.
Minnesota. What happened there?
Well, it's kind of a cautionary tale almost. They were planning for a massive boom. A big Panasonic plant was coming in, and they were gearing up.
Oh, okay. So expecting growth.
Huge growth. They were ready to pass a bond, build schools, housing, partner on getting staff. The whole 9 yards.
And then?
And then things shifted.
Yeah.
Suddenly, federal government actions related to electric cars apparently impacted the project, and poof, the programs and funding kind of stalled.
Oof. So all that planning.
Exactly. It just highlights how unpredictable future growth can be. You have to be able to, as they put it, plan and pivot. You can't just assume things will go one way.
That's a really vivid example.
Okay.
Okay, so declining enrollment and the budget impact, that's number one. What's the second major reason for looking at reconfiguration?
The second one is what they called fragmented transitions. Basically, the way kids move through the district currently.
Fragmented. How so?
Well, students are spread across 4 different buildings right now. And the path isn't always, let's say, the most logical from a learning progression standpoint.
Right. I think I saw the breakdown. Preschool's in one town.
Yep. Then K through 3 is in another. Then 4th and 5th graders actually go to school with the middle schoolers.
Oh, interesting.
And then high school, 9 through 12, is somewhere else again.
So 4 different locations just to get through K-12.
Exactly. And they were clear, kids are learning, the staff are doing great work. But research suggests there might be a, quote, better way.
Like grouping similar ages together more logically.
Precisely. The goal seems to be bringing the pre-K through 5th grade students back together. They believe that creates better aligned and more comprehensive learning experiences in those foundational years.
Okay, that makes sense. Enrollment, transitions. What's the third pillar?
The third one is really about the buildings themselves, facility upkeep and sustainability.
The practical side. Can they actually afford to keep 4 campuses running effectively in the long run?
That's the core question. Is it viable? Is it sustainable? They had partners like HDK and Piper Sandler presenting information specifically looking at the costs, maintaining 4 campuses versus consolidating into fewer.
So weighing the long-term financial health of the district.
It's about fiscal responsibility and where you put your resources for the best impact.
Okay, so those are the big whys. Declining enrollment, fragment transitions, and facility sustainability.
Mhm.
How did they try to gauge what the community thought about all this?
Well, they started gathering input right there in the meeting, actually, using an interactive poll.
Live feedback. What kind of things did they ask?
They started positive, asking about people's favorite things about the Santa Fe Trail schools.
Nice. What came up?
A lot of really good stuff, things like close community, strong support system, uh, small classroom size, that sense of community, again, the rural area aspect, and lots of praise for the teachers and staff. Really positive vibes there.
That's good to hear. Did the tech work smoothly? Sometimes those live polls can be tricky.
Huh. Well, you mentioned it. There was actually a little hiccup with the QR code and the Minty survey, I think it was called.
A classic.
Yeah, someone even joked, this is why we did a test. So, real world tech challenges.
Happens to the best of us. So beyond the favorite things, did they get into priorities?
They did. They actually looked at results from an earlier survey they'd given the committee members as like a homework assignment.
Okay, what was the focus of that one?
It was interesting. They asked committee members to rank their priorities, but then also rank what they thought the broader community's priorities would be.
Oh, that's a smart comparison. What did the committee themselves prioritize?
For the committee, it was operational efficiency, safe and secure facilities, modernized facilities, reducing those transitions we talked about, and cost.
Okay, a mix of practical and educational goals. And what did they think the community cared most about?
That's where it shifted a bit. They perceived the community's top priority would be cost, number one,
Cost.
followed by safety and security, then operational efficiencies, then, interestingly, maintaining the existing buildings, and finally, reduce transitions.
So a really strong perception that the bottom line, the cost, is paramount for the wider community.
Yeah, that came through pretty clearly in their perception, at least.
Did they ask the people in the room about things like the number of buildings or costs?
Yes, they did, using that live poll again. They asked, given the declining enrollment, what's the appropriate number of buildings for long-term success?
And the results, what was the feeling there?
It was quite telling. Let's see, 4 votes were for just 1 building, 11 votes for 2 buildings, 12 votes for 3 buildings.
And keeping all 4.
0. Nobody in that room voted for maintaining 4 buildings long-term.
Wow, okay, so a clear signal towards consolidation.
Yeah.
2 or 3 buildings seems to be the sweet spot for that group.
Definitely leans that way. Then they got right to the money question.
A big one?
Yep. What is the maximum cost per month you would support in a bond election? Puts it right into people's wallets.
Absolutely. How does that shake out?
It was a bit spread, but you saw clusters. 6 people said $5 a month. 3 said $10. Then 11 people landed on $20 a month.
Okay, $20 seems like a popular number there.
It was the largest group, yeah. Then 5 people said $30 a month, and 6 were willing to go up to $40 a month.
So a decent number willing to support $20, and some even higher, but also some wanting to keep it lower.
Right. And someone apparently made a comment that there was no 0 option on the poll.
Always one. Got to appreciate the realism.
You do. It reflects that public expectation sometimes.
So you've got this feedback, people leaning towards 2 or 3 buildings, maybe comfortable around that $20 a month mark for taxes. How did the actual proposed scenarios line up with that? What were the options and their costs?
Okay, so they laid out a few different paths. Option 1, basically stay with 4 buildings, but just do necessary updates. That was estimated around $8 million.
Okay, the minimal approach.
Then moving to 3 buildings. This would involve some reshuffling, maybe moving grades around to reduce those transitions. That was pegged at about $11 million.
Still relatively low cost.
Comparatively, yes. Then you get into the 2 building scenarios. This usually meant like a PK-5 elementary school and then putting the middle and high school students together at another site.
Okay.
And there were variations here, maybe repurposing the Scranton building or fitting PK-5 into Carbondale, but needing an addition at Overbrook, plus high school updates. These came in roughly between $20 to $24 million.
So that $24 million range starts to align with that 20-month tax tolerance we heard about.
It starts to get closer, yeah. And then the final option, 1 single campus for everyone. PK-12 all in one spot.
The big consolidation. What's the price tag on that?
A significantly bigger number, $50 million.
$50 million. Okay. And did they show how these dollar amounts translate to taxes for homeowners?
They did. They connected it directly. For example, that $30 million option, which isn't exactly one of the main scenarios listed but gives a benchmark, would be roughly that $20 per month increase on a $150,000 home.
Okay, so the $24 million scenarios would likely be a bit under that $20 a month mark, right?
Probably in that ballpark, yeah. Maybe slightly less, depending on the final numbers. In contrast, the $50 million one campus option, that translates to about $42 a month.
42. Okay, quite a jump from 20.
Definitely. And the $11 million three-building option, that was only about $3 a month.
So a huge range of possibilities and costs.
Absolutely. But what's kind of striking is how the feedback seemed to cluster. The preference for 2 or 3 buildings and that $20 a month tolerance level.
It points towards those mid-range options, doesn't it? The $24 million ones.
It seems to converge there, yeah. The $20 million figure, they noted, often lined up with those 2 or 3 building plans. But it raises that big question, doesn't it? Balancing what seems popular or financially comfortable with what might be the absolute best long-term educational or operational solution.
That's a tightrope walk, isn't it? So after laying all this out, the reasons, the costs, the initial feedback, what happened next in the meeting?
They broke out into small group discussions.
Good idea. Let people process it.
Yeah, give the committee members a chance to really dig into how these scenarios and the costs fit with their own priorities, but also what they're hearing out in the community. Remember, these groups had parents, district employees, business owners, different viewpoints.
Crucial to get those diverse perspectives heard. Did any specific concerns or ideas come out of those small groups?
Yes, some interesting points were raised. For example, some members brought up concerns about local farmers, saying they might struggle to support really high-end tax increases. That agricultural perspective is important there.
Right, the impact on different parts of the local economy.
Exactly. And there was also this sentiment that maybe, just maybe, people might be willing to pay a bit more, go above neutral, as someone put it, if it meant keeping 2 separate elementary schools, perhaps like a return to a previous configuration they called Brook Creek.
So strong community ties to specific schools or setups could influence that cost tolerance.
It seems like it. People get attached to their local elementary schools.
Definitely. Now, I understand they also did a tour as part of this meeting.
They did, yeah. A quick tour of the high school.
To give people a real look at the current state of things.
Exactly. Mr. Ellis led it. They didn't have time for the whole campus, so they focused on priority spots, areas that really illustrate the needs or the potential for change.
Like what kind of spots?
Things like the kitchen areas, typical classrooms just to see the standard setup, and what they called problem areas, places needing significant updates or posing challenges.
Got it. See the good and the, well, not so good.
Pretty much. They also spent some time in the library.
Oh, yeah. What was the takeaway there?
Well, it was noted as being a great big area, really flexible. You could use it for large groups or break it down for smaller activities.
Sounds like a good space.
It is, but an interesting point came up too. While it's big, it also has potentially wasted space.
Wasted space.
Huh.
In a library.
Yeah, areas that maybe aren't fully utilized now that could perhaps be converted into actual classrooms if needed.
Okay. Reimagining the space.
Exactly. And it ties into how libraries themselves are changing, right? It's less about housing massive collections of physical books now and more about accommodating digital resources like banks of Chromebooks and different kinds of learning activities. So the function shifts, and maybe the space needs to as well.
That's a really insightful point about optimizing existing facilities. Okay, so we've covered the reasons, the community feedback, the costs, the tour.
Right.
How did they wrap things up? Where does it go from here?
Well, this deep dive focused on this one particular meeting, but it's clear this is an ongoing process for Santa Fe Trail.
Not a one-and-done decision.
Definitely not. They mentioned an upcoming meeting scheduled at Carbondale, another community site, likely with a similar format, sharing information, discussion, and probably a tour of that facility too.
Keeping the engagement going.
Yes, and they also plan to follow up with digital surveys for the committee participants. Gives people a chance to provide maybe more detailed, thought-out feedback after they've had time to digest everything.
Makes sense. And how are they keeping the wider community informed beyond these committee meetings?
They seem really committed to transparency. They mentioned using newsletters, social media, the usual channels, but they also highlighted a dedicated Reconfiguration website.
A central hub for information.
Exactly. And get this, it apparently features an AI chatbot.
Really? A chatbot for school reconfiguration?
Yeah. Designed to answer questions people might have and, importantly, cite its sources for the information it provides.
Huh. That's pretty innovative.
Yeah.
So it gives you the listener or any resident a place to go and dig deeper, if you're curious.
Precisely. A clear pathway to get information and presumably ask questions.
Well, this whole Santa Fe Trail journey, it really paints a picture, doesn't it? It's such a powerful example of how communities have to constantly adapt. You're balancing tradition, what people value now, with what the future might demand.
Absolutely. And every part matters, every voice, every opinion, even those little tech glitches during the meeting, they're all part of how this path forward gets shaped.
It really makes you think, how can communities best navigate these kinds of really complex long-term decisions? Decisions that are going to impact generations of students down the line. It's a huge undertaking.